Hey guys, today I want to show you kind of like, what are we looking at here? Well, this is the inside of a television, old CRT type television. It's a 25-inch GE model, and it was given to me by my sister-in-law. Now, she thought it was a 27-inch. Come to find out, it's a 25-inch. And what I was going to do is I was going to use the tube out of it, thinking it was a 27-inch, to try to do a tube swap with my 27-inch medium resolution tube that's in my Gauntlet Legends here. It has just a very faint amount of screen burn down near the bottom across here where your stats show up for your characters, and I thought it might be a potential donor to put a brand new tube in there and just get rid of that tiny little bit of screen burn. But turns out it was a 25-inch. But the good news is, it is something that could possibly be changed into one of the Mortal Kombats, or what I've really decided to do is use it for my MAME cabinet. And the monitor that I had for the MAME cabinet, it was a 25-inch tube, and I was going to use a Wells-Gardner K7400 chassis that doesn't require an isolation transformer for it. And I thought, well shoot, if I can get this tube to switch out and work with that K7400, I would have a nice working chassis with no isolation transformer required and a burn-free tube with good color and everything. Because usually TVs like this, they don't get a whole lot of harsh usage like a arcade machine that's in an arcade that's left on, sometimes all day long. Sometimes they even leave them on through the night depending on location and stuff. But anyway, I was wanting to try to do a swap, and this would have been my first swap from a TV tube to an arcade monitor chassis, trying to put back together an arcade monitor. And the first thing you want to do when you do something like that is of course I disassembled the casing, I took the tube out, and sorry I didn't get that on film, but my old camera, this is a box from the camera that I'm using right now. There's my old camera, identical as you can see. Had a mishap here at the house, and it got knocked over and it broke the touchscreen, and it's non-functional anymore. You can kind of use it to record, but has lots of problems, and you can't really get into the menus and do anything with it. But I wanted the exact same type of camcorder, and I ordered one and got it from a seller that said it was brand new, and it turns out it was used, and they didn't include some things that were supposed to be with it, and then they wanted to give me a lot of trouble trying to get a refund, and so I had to go through the eBay system and use their customer support, and they got me a full refund and all. So I sent that camera back. It was the same model as this, but it was a blue model. It seemed like it actually had a little bit of trouble with the focus on it. But this one right here was from a bit more reputable seller that had a lot more sales and sold a lot more electronics and had really good rating. And anyway, I went ahead and ordered from them, and this was supposed to be new in the box, but it wasn't an open box buy. It had been resealed, so there was just a piece of tape on there. And so I went ahead and bought that, and turns out it's great. I'm using it right now, and it was definitely brand new, not a scratch on it. Looked absolutely perfect. Everything in it looked like it, had been unused. Just somebody opened the box. I don't know, how they got a hold of it. Maybe it was a store display model or something. But anyway, I got it for probably less than half price of what my camera originally cost when it was new, and it was only about a year old. So that's what I'm using for this video. But I didn't have a video to use when I was starting this tube swap, so no camera to use anyway. No camera to use when I started the tube swap, and so I went ahead and started the project, decased the tube, took all this out, and got the tube out, looked at the model number, and the model number was a A63 ADT 26X05. And when you look it up, that's a 25-inch tube. And I did some readings on the yoke coils, the horizontal and vertical. And I got a 2.6 ohm reading on the horizontal and a 6.4 ohm reading on the vertical. And that's pretty close to one of the original tubes that was used with some of these K7000s and K7400s. And it was close enough to me that I wanted to risk trying it. And I checked the pin out on the tube, and it fit my CR23 adapter that goes to my rejuvenator. So I knew it was compatible to the neck boards sockets on all these chassis that I use. And then I decided, I said, well, the resistance on the coils are, pretty close, so I'm not going to try to do any type of a yoke swap or anything like that. I'm just going to use the one that's on there. And what I had to do was the connectors and stuff on there. See if I can find one similar, if there's still one on this chassis. Maybe there's not one on the chassis anymore, but I've done put up all the wiring when I've done the rewiring. But anyway, the connectors, you had a connector for your decals. You had a connector for ground. You had connections for the vertical and the horizontal yoke coils, and all those had different types of connections. Some of them soldered directly into this chassis, this television chassis, and some of them connected with connectors. Instead of being soldered directly to the yoke, it actually had connectors on the yoke, and they were soldered into the circuit board of the chassis here. So I clipped those a little bit short, and I used some salvage wires from another arcade monitor where I had to throw a tube away, and I did some splicing and heat shrink tubing and everything. And anyway, just to show you finished product, this is what we've got here, and this is the tube that come out of that television. 25-inch tube. Looks much cleaner now. I have cleaned it up with my air hose. I tell you, this was actually dirtier than most arcade monitors that I get. It's just because, over years, this was a 1995 model set, and so you're talking 18 years of use. The vent holes in the back of the casing let a lot of dust in, so this was a really, really dusty CRT tube here. I took it outside, used the air hose, and knocked a whole lot of dust off, but it looks just about like new now. And what I like about it is it's the same size as most of my 25-inch tubes that I've used on arcade monitors, but the depth is slightly less. So where you see the neck board is there, it actually stops almost dead on with that board that the chassis is mounted to. And originally, this is the brackets that you've seen in a previous video that I had cut off so they could fit into the main cab. And there used to be a K7000 older model chassis mounted to that. Well, I have the K7400 on there now, and the neck board now, it's actually in probably by about, I'd say, 2 to 4 inches from the original tube, so it's going to make it go into the main cabinet a lot easier too. And turns out, after I got all my splicing done, you can see I used some heat shrink tubing, and you can see the horizontal and the vertical wires there mounted for the yoke, and they actually plug on and off. And I went ahead and I wanted to leave those. I didn't want to solder directly to them. I thought it might come in handy in the future, so I left those like they are, and I just cut them probably about 5 inches or so from the plugs, and spliced them, soldered them, put some heat shrink tubing on there, and used some you can see right down there, there's the vertical yellow and white wire connecting there. That's the vertical connection that came off of an old arcade monitor. And on back in there, I know you can't see, it's a little too dark back in there near the horizontal width coil. Right in there, getting blurry on me, but that's the horizontal connection for the yoke. But those were spliced. I left the existing decals coil on here that came with the television, and I didn't try to swap one out from arcade monitor. I left that on there, and all I did was splice into the wiring for it so that the plug would fit onto this chassis. Did the same thing with it had 2 ground connections. If you can see that white wire right there, that's one of them. And let's see, that one goes to, see, that particular one right there goes to the front of the chassis right there. Wanted to make sure I had that to a ground point, so there's a screw there, and that's a ground point on the chassis, and I installed that wire around that screw and tightened it down. There's a nut on the bottom of it, and that basically, that trace, if you can see it, that trace right there, it runs straight over to where the power connection is, and it gets a neutral off the power, or excuse me, not a neutral, a ground off the power connection. So got a ground there, and it had a secondary ground, and it runs up to the neck board, that black wire right there, and it's spliced into a white wire that's a ground that comes off of the the DAG off of the grounding strap around the CRT tube. So everything mounted up, it looks really good, and I'll show you what the results looks like. After I got everything mounted, it mounted right in there, and had the exact same mounting tabs as arcade monitors do on the four corners. Everything connected up without a problem. I didn't have to do all that much adjustment, but excuse me, didn't mean to zoom there. I'm going to go ahead and flip the MK1 on and just show you what the picture looks like. And excuse me the way I've got this turned around, but if I don't turn it around this way, it's like my wires are a little too short in the back. Let it go through its little test here. But we had really good results from the get-go. Good color, good geometry, good focus, good brightness. Everything's pretty good. About the only thing I would do is I might need to go and adjust the horizontal width coil to get just a hair bit more width out of it. There's just a little bit of black on the left and the right that won't adjust out. Nothing that most people would even notice, but I notice it. It's like maybe a ½ an inch on each side. So I'd like for the horizontal to go just a little bit, you know, so I could adjust it on the remote board to be maybe slightly overscanned, just slightly larger than the monitor. So I might just adjust the horizontal width coil just to be able to get that extra little bit of horizontal width out of it. And excuse me if it's flashing here. Anytime you're recording these standard res CRTs, you get some flash in there. I'm recording in standard mode too, so I don't know if I was recording this in high def mode or 720p. I don't know if that would take care of that, but sometimes it has to do with your lighting conditions in the room too, but you do not see that in person at all. But the color looks excellent. I didn't hardly have to adjust that at all. I just adjusted the screen and the focus just a little bit on the flyback, just a little bit on the pots for, you know, the horizontal and vertical width and position and everything. But to be honest with you, this is absolutely one of the best looking monitors that I've had here at my house. I can't believe, I mean, this is from a television tube. But anyway, that's what I've been working on, and everything worked out great. This is going to make an excellent monitor for the main cabinet, and wanted to show you guys that and start using my new camera here. Sorry I hadn't had any videos up in a while. Wanted to do it, but didn't have access to a camera for a couple weeks here, and anyway, it all worked out well. And this is, in case any of you are interested, this is an RCA type tube, A63 ADT 26X05. It's a 25-inch tube. This one was supposedly manufactured around 1995. I don't know if that's what that means, 95-04. Maybe it means April 1995, I'm not positive. I just know on the back of the TV it says manufactured date 1995. And sometimes they do market TVs like the 25-inch tubes as anything from, I think, a 24 or 25-inch up to about a 27. So this may have been marketed as a 27-inch. When I looked it up online, it came up as 25 or 26-inch. And my sister-in-law thought that it was a 27, but truly the tube itself is a 25-inch tube from all the data that I can look up about it. And these actually used to be in some Hanterax monitors, Hanterax MTC 9110s that they had. Now, I've never had one of those monitors. I have a Hanterax Polo in the Mortal Kombat 2, but they had a 25-inch and I think a 28-inch version of the Hanterax MTCs. I don't know if they both were 9110s, if that's what they both were called or not. It's something like that, but I think this was for the 25-inch version of it. But as soon as I seen that and cross references, you know, showed that it came up as working as an arcade monitor on chassis like that, I knew that it was a possible donor for these other chassis, and it's working great. You know, couldn't be more happy with it. So anyway, gonna leave you guys with that. Just show you one more image of it before we go. Excuse me if you see any reflections of laundry in the screen, because we were doing laundry and there's some out on the floor right in front of the monitor here, about 5 feet. But that's all. Catch you guys later.